we will begin today with a prelude played by Deborah Wiggins. So Deborah, thank you so much for being here today. It's good to have you. So good morning. Welcome to the UU community of Halifax. My name is Ben Robbins, and I'm glad to be your minister. And a happy May the 4th to all who celebrate. Yeah. May the 4th be with you.
And also with you.
Thank you. Part of our mission is to change the world. More love, more justice, more interdependence, more freedom, and more. So when you participate in UUCH, you participate in a community, and you participate in a mission, in a grand adventure. In our office, we have several copies of Heather Watts' book on the history of the congregation. So from the beginning in the 1830s, we were this mix of community and the larger mission. The specifics changed over the decades, but the spirit carries through. This morning, as part of our service, we welcome 4 new members to UUCH. Laura Bain, Caitlin Drury, Gina Erman, and Jeff Richardson. Thank you so much for joining this adventure and this journey. Please see the announcements in the order of service and note that today at noon we have a session of building your own theology. And today's theme is human nature. So what do you think about human nature? All are welcome. And please save the date, June 15th, for a barbecue at Leslie and Ellen Shaw House here in the city. It's their house in the city. Thank you to our volunteers and staff who make our Sunday services possible. Mitchell Horn is helping with the reflection today. Pam Berman is service assistant, filling in for me because I put my back out. Thank you so much. We have Riley Friesen on tech. We have Deborah Wiggins on keys. Thanks so much, Deborah. Special thank you today to our property volunteers. Thank you, Joe, for smoothing the walkway in front of the door, and whoever is doing the garden beds. Okay, the mystery continues. Okay. And if you are new or we haven't met, I would love to say hi after the service. And we now have Leslie Robinson with our land and climate acknowledgement.
Thank you, and good morning, everybody in the sanctuary, and good morning to the 11 other people who are on Zoom. We acknowledge that we are in Mi'kmaq, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. This territory is covered by the treaties of peace and friendship, which the Mi'kmaq people first signed with the British Crown in 1725. During the recent federal election, the climate crisis was hardly mentioned at all. But this past week, you might have heard that climate was on the agenda of the Supreme Court of Canada. And it involved 7 young people. We could call them a group of 7, not artists, but adventurous young people. And this all began in 2018. That's when the Ontario government decided to replace its climate target with a weaker one. And lawyers are arguing that that decision, and these young people are arguing, that that decision committed the province to dangerously high greenhouse gas levels, and that this would jeopardize the young people's right to life and force them to bear the brunt of future climate impacts. That's a good point. Well, this week, Canada's top court actually turned down the Ontario government's request to rule on this challenge to its climate plan that was brought. And so this decision by the Supreme Court means that it's actually the provincial courts that are the appropriate jurisdiction for ruling on this challenge by the young people. It's complicated. So it's going to be still in the courts in Ontario, and the back and forth between the government and the different courts is still going to go on. But the interesting thing is that this challenge by the young people is continuing. It hasn't ended at all. Politicians have failed to take swift action on climate. And the argument is that this places a disproportionate burden on today's youth and can be seen as a form of discrimination against them specifically. Legal experts say that the case could clarify whether governments in Canada have a constitutional obligation to protect Canadians from climate change. And the group is asking for a court order that the Ontario government come up with a science-based target in line with Canada's international climate commitments. I find it encouraging to see that despite the slowness of our politicians, today's young people are taking direct action. They're not sitting back quietly and accepting this. They want the climate crisis to be addressed now.
Yellow on, right? Yellow line off. Okay, there we go. There we go. I like the directions, it helps. Our chalice lighting words are by Sherry Woodbury. Light of love, alive in all creation, as we kindle this flame, we rekindle our connection to the sacred web of life. Please rise in body or spirit for our opening hymn, number 21, For the Beauty of the Earth. And the words are going up on the screen as well. We now have time for joys, sorrows, and complex truths. We bring our hearts into this sacred space of community and open them up to each other and for each other, so that those of us who carry pain might be comforted by the presence of a loving community, so that those of us who are happy might share the joy and see it multiply in others. And so those of us who carry complex truth might find a welcoming space to process the meaning making in your life. This is our communal well that holds all of our stories. The water can remind us of our connection to all of life and to the earth itself. If you have a joy, sorrow, or complex truth in your heart to speak into community, we invite you to share and place a stone in the well. You might also place a stone in silence. If you're willing, please speak from near the well so that those on Zoom can see you. I'll hand you the mic. And turn it on.
I think Scott online has one.
Okay. Go ahead, Scott. Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead, Scott.
Thank you. I have a great joy, which I'd like to share with you. And that is one of our members' great success in writing a book about her very significant journey in finding her Métis background. That is Andrea Curry, who has had a career working as a therapist in First Nation communities in Cape Breton and has written this book, which is called Finding Otipesimiwak. It's a mouthful, which means finding the people who know themselves. And Andrea's book has been making waves, and I want to tell you that there will be an opportunity on Tuesday, May 13th at 7 p.m. to hear Andrea talk about her book at the Halifax Central Library. I've read the book. It's excellent. I put my copy in the library of the church for others to read as well. Stone for Andrea, please.
Stone for Andrea.
Good morning. I'm just thinking how nice it is this morning that we're adding 4 more members to the church. It's lovely to see us expanding, and I know there's several other young people here who just keep coming, and it's great to see them all. Thanks.
We also have Margaret online as well.
Go ahead, Margaret.
Thank you. I have a joy and a concern today. This past week, we were happy to welcome to faraway Yarmouth an energy expert from the Ecology Action Centre and a family physician who gave an excellent presentation on the benefits of electric school buses. This was my joy. My concern is that Nova Scotia is the only province that has not one electric school bus. I'd like to have a stone in the well for that, please. Thank you.
Well, one for the joy and one for the concern. How's that? Anybody else? Okay. And then more. So which way we face? Oh, just turn around here and more close to the well. I think it'll work.
Okay, my concern is for my friend Wendy Stone, who this week will be having dental surgery, and she's scared about it and whatever, but it has to be done, so she's looking forward to it. And I look forward to then seeing her next week.
I'll put a stone in for you anyway.
Yeah, I'm just thinking about those 2 little kiddos in the northern part of the province who are missing, and just like wanting to put our collective intention with a stone for each of them, that they be returned home safe to their families. So thinking about Lily and thinking about Jack.
Anybody else?
We have one more from Leslie.
Oh, go ahead, Leslie.
Yes, I have a complex truth. My piece talking about the group of 7 young people and action against the Ontario government. There is a picture of the group of 7, so I'd like to ask Riley to show that, if that's possible, and put a stone in the well to support them. There they are. Thank you.
And a stone for all the other joys, concerns, and complex truths that have been unspoken.
It's not in the order of service, but Deborah, I believe you have a piece now.
An interlude?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
For our offering. The work of this community is made possible by donations of time, talent, and money. Thank you for however you give, and we trust that you will give however much is right for you. Most donate by monthly e-transfer, but we also pass the basket, and today the basket goes to our operating fund. Whatever your situation, thank you for being part of this community. Thank you. Please rise in body or spirit for our offertory hymn, number 188 in the hymnals, Come, Come, Whoever You Are, and the words will also be on the screen.
Hello, good morning, everyone. My name is Mitchell. I have met many of you, but I see some new faces to me today, so nice to meet you all. Ben has asked me to speak on the topic of yes and what it means to me. Yes and means many things. To begin, to put it in a nutshell, it's about acceptance and addition, receiving and giving back. So I think that's where we should start is maybe here in the present moment. When I have an opportunity for the spotlight like this kind of situation, I get a lot of nerves. I woke up this morning, I had to accept that about myself right away. So I'll put it to you. Can you accept that about me? Yes. Thank you.
Totally off.
Mitchell is my name. We see yes and explored as a concept or a practice in improvised theater, improvised comedy, something I have been fortunate to do and learn and play with for much of my life. So let's start there and talk about how it works. When I talk about improv, it's getting up on a stage with a couple other people, without a script, without a plan, and you take a word of suggestion or inspiration from the audience, and you try to discover something from there. And when I talk about that, most people say, "Oh, I could never do that. That sounds terrible." And yet, it is something. If we take the audience out of it, is something that we all do every day. We might wake up and think, "Okay, I know what I have planned for today. I know what it's going to look like," and yet circumstances change, and we have to accept what comes to us. So yes, and in improv, fundamentally, we're working. If I'm working with a scene partner, trying to create a scene out of nothing with no props and no script, what is most important? We gotta agree on what's happening as we uncover it. So that means saying yes. It means accepting what has happened and what is coming from my scene partner. It means not denying the reality that comes to me, even when it's difficult. Maybe I can illustrate this in some examples. If I asked for a word of inspiration from the audience, let's just say, for example, bakery was the word. I said, "Okay, bakery, what are we gonna do?" I might start miming that I'm like kneading dough, and I'm clearly working in a bakery, and my scene partner says, "We'll see this idea that I've presented. We call it an offer. I've made an offer. I'm kneading dough, and maybe my scene partner comes and joins me. They want to say yes to my idea of kneading dough, and they start doing the same. What's the next logical thing? Maybe I say, "Okay, we're in a bakery." Let's acknowledge that fact, right? We're in a bakery. We are two bakers. So it's a give and receive of, I start by offering something. I'm kneading dough. My scene partner says, "Yes, I see that you're kneading dough, and and it's rush hour, like it's a busy time. We gotta go fast. I say, yeah, it's a busy time. We gotta go fast, and the boss is watching. Just as an example. So it's a give and take of piece by piece. We are trying to discover the reality that's in front of us. What happens when I say no to my scene partner is we get stuck. My scene partner says, we're bakers in a bakery, and I say, no, we're in a parking lot. Suddenly we have some friction, and the audience might give a laugh like of discomfort, but we're stuck. We need to kind of take a step back and kind of repair what has just happened between us, because we no longer have agreement. We no longer have understanding between us. Saying no is a failure to accept what I have been given. It's a failure to say yes. Maybe failure is a nasty word, but or it's an unwillingness. And we can say no not just in such a stark way, but we can say no in a subtle way. My scene partner says, "We got a lot of customers out there. We gotta fill these orders. We gotta make some more bread now." And I say, "Oh, look, here in the closet, there's 15 loaves we forgot about." Great. Did I say yes to the idea of what I was just presented? I didn't say no straight out, but I kind of took what they said and say, no, I like my idea more. My idea is that we don't have a problem with bread. It's fine. And again, we're kind of stuck, right? What we thought we might have established is gone. It's missing. How does yes and apply in everyday life? It's not just a tool for this niche moment of improvised comedy. It's something we practice every day. People present us with things that we weren't planning to hear or we weren't expecting from them. And when you hear something like that, someone comes to you and they say, someone close to me comes to me and says, "Mitchell, what you said the other day really hurt my feelings." And it might be my instinct to go, oh, well, no, I didn't mean it that way. I didn't mean it that way. That's not what I meant. And to have kind of a reaction to something I wasn't expecting. But what does that person really need from me? They really want me to receive what they're saying. Hey, you hurt my feelings. Like, this is why. If I can make space to receive that from them before I try to jump into my explanation of what I meant and what it might have been, then let's put it this way. If I start trying to explain myself before I've even heard them out, I've said no to someone else. And I don't see them as a scene partner. I don't see them as a collaborator. I don't see them as really a person that I'm in contact with. I see them as an obstacle for me to overcome. I say, oh, well, I don't want to be the bad guy, so I got to fix this right away. The acceptance part is hard. Someone comes and says a tender thing like this, or someone's gives me something else difficult. As you can see, I'm working to find my own way as I do this. I practiced yes and yesterday. I made plans with a friend, a new friend who I have some trust with, and we said, okay, well, we'll just meet downtown at this time and we'll figure out what to do. And sure enough, I get downtown and it's a beautiful day out. We didn't plan to do this or that. Well, actually, we talked about possibly going to see a movie. But it was such a beautiful day, the sun was out, I said, okay, this is what we're going to do. We're going to say yes to this because we're receiving an offer right now from the universe. And we're going to sit outside. And I ended up spending the whole day just sitting outside in the sun because it felt so good here in the spring. What's the result? I got a sunburn today. I'm stinging all over. Like, I felt like I got home last night. I said, this is going to be... I felt a little bit foolish. And yet... And it certainly wasn't something I expected or planned to do. And yet the richness of the experience of my day yesterday was increased by accepting what was there in front of me, the opportunity. It also means I can't deny that I've got a sunburn, that I got to take care, I got to moisturize and put some aloe vera on, right? I can't say, no, I'm fine. I could say that, and what's going to happen? Skin's going to get worse. What we learned by doing improv and working collaboratively with people in any kind of creative field is that everybody brings something different, something unexpected. So it's in my best interest to receive and amplify your ideas, your unique qualities, the things that I couldn't bring just by myself, even when it's difficult to do so. And we have to find creative ways to say yes to things sometimes, or we need to take a moment to receive before we can figure out how to proceed. I think especially in light of today, we are bringing in and accepting some new members to this congregation who they're bringing unique qualities, unique offers, unique contributions that as an existing community, thank you, we don't have yet. So it is in our best interest to make a welcoming, accepting space for them to receive them fully and properly so that we can then give back. One more idea on this, and then I'll wrap it up. There's a story I heard told by Herbie Hancock, the legendary jazz pianist, keyboardist. He was talking about an experience playing alongside Miles Davis. Herbie's on keys, of course, and Miles is playing a trumpet solo, and he says, "Then suddenly I played a chord that just had all the wrong notes. All the wrong notes," and I went, "Ooh." Uh-oh, I just interrupted this moment, or I just ruined this moment, or I just, I just messed up by... And he describes how Miles Davis, who's again on trumpet, hears this chord, this dissonance, right, that was created from this kind of unexpected moment, and he takes a second, takes it in, and then plays a series of notes that resolve it. They make it right. Because he did not approach, because Miles, receiving this from his friend, his collaborator, did not approach it from that same judgmental place of, this is a mistake. He was able to receive it, take a moment, find the harmony hidden underneath the discord. So that is to say, in jazz, in improv, and in life, there are no wrong notes, only difficult ones. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I asked Mitchell to speak today because we both love improv theater. So I look forward to doing improv with you at some point. I'm going to be honest, there were moments there where it seemed like you were rambling. You weren't quite sure where it was going. And then there were moments where it just like whoosh, came together. And then, so when you used the example of Miles Davis, I was just like, yes. And you trusted yourself to get up here and do that. And there were the moments of whoosh, like taking us there. So thank you so much. In the spirit of improv, I'm also working from notes, not a script. When I was a kid in school, most of the other kids were really nice. No one was super mean, but there was just like kind of there was a no. There was often a no. If I brought my joy, kind of felt like there was a no. Someone would rather make a dig at me than say yes to my joy. So I didn't bring myself, it would never have crossed my mind to show up on Monday morning and say, here's what I did on the weekend. Because I didn't think I would get a yes and. In grade 10, was it? Our history teacher was telling us about the book Zen and the Art of Motorcycle Maintenance. It's my dad's favorite book. He took me on a pilgrimage to Robert Piercig's hometown in 1986. So I went home, got that book that well-thumbed book off the bookshelf, brought it to class the next day, and another student was just like, I don't know what he said, you're such a suck-up, or can't believe you're interested in that. And that attitude really got to me. Just years of mostly subtle stuff, but the occasional bigger stuff, where I didn't put myself out there because I didn't expect a yes. Do you know the phrase disowned parts? My wife is a Gestalt therapist, and it's that part of you that you just don't connect with anymore because of something that happened. Your disowned part. So at the end of their third year, I think, of therapy training, at their annual retreat, you dress up as your disowned part. So if you've never felt safe expressing joy, you go to this party and you're joyful. Some people have repressed anger that they felt like, oh God, I always have to be cheerful. So there might be someone at the party, you know, exploring that part of themselves. So it's a risky experiment. And they all say yes to each other, and apparently it's very healing. So when I started trying improv, I did exactly what Mitchell described. I don't remember the exact details, but it was something like, my scene partner said something like, "What a beautiful sunny day." And I said, "How can you say that when it's pouring with rain?" And I thought this was the funniest thing. I've added tension to the scene. Isn't this funny? And then they said, "Oh, that's the gigantic sprinkler our neighbor's using." And how could you say that when our neighbor's a gas station? You know, it was just, and I thought I was being so clever and funny. What finally clicked for me, I was pretending to spin dough as running a pizzeria. And someone walked in and I said, I don't remember what I said. Have you read the news? I don't know what I said. And the director said, "You're running a pizzeria. Ask him if he wants a pizza." And I was just, I could just cooperate with what's happening. I could just, we're in yes, and order, like, and that helped me break out of that. Anyone here do karate? Any karate people? I've only gone to like one lesson, I think. I try to, but there's blocking. I think you're either like attacking or blocking. It's either my yes or a no to you. And when I started doing improv dance, I moved to an improv dance retreat center. Absolutely love it. So many people there were interested in jujitsu. Anyone here tried jujitsu? Jiu-jitsu is much more about receiving the person's energy and flowing. So it's pretty easy to get someone on the ground if you know what you're doing. They reach into you and you just take their energy, and it's kind of like being yes and, not in a cooperative way, but. And so in our culture, we can be taught the karate way, no. And not realize there's a way to take other people's energy and work with it. And one little memory aid I like, rule of thumb, if I only agree 30% with you, I'm going to say yes to 100% of that 30%. Does that make sense? Just give them your, yes, that I completely agree with that. I'm going to say one more thing about improv. There's an improv game, Viola Spolin might have invented, I'm sure improv has been going on for centuries and thousands of years, but in its modern version, Viola Spolin created hundreds of different improv games, and one of the games is called Follow the Follower. And if I understand correctly, it kind of starts like, I'm doing this and you're mirroring me, like you're standing right there, you're doing exactly what I'm doing, and then we switch and I'm following you. Whatever you do, I mirror it. But at some point, we're both trying to follow. And it doesn't just end up with, we're just stuck. It doesn't do that. It moves, and like I accidentally go a bit higher, so you go a bit higher, and suddenly we're doing disco, and all we're both doing is trying to follow. And it just takes on a life of its own. So when is it easy to say yes? When is it easy to say yes? When is it so easy? With little kids, am I right? Some of the time. Little kids have no memory. You can play whatever stupid game they want to play. 10 minutes later, they'll forget. So there's nothing on the line. You can just be like, yeah, let's pretend we're whatever. Ballet dancing monkeys. And you just say yes. When you're brainstorming, what should we do on the weekend? yeah, you can throw 1,000 different ideas. It doesn't matter if most of them are ridiculous. We'll just say yes to putting them on the board. So there are ways where I felt really comfortable saying yes. But I've also taken the yes too far. It used to be when I joined a new community, I'd be a wallflower for 2 years. Just stay off to the side, stay quiet, don't rock the boat, just pay attention. What is going on here for like 2 years? And then it was like a switch flipped overnight of, oh, I'm allowed to add, I'm allowed to bring my personality to this. You know, you go into a library and you're like, oh, I gotta be quiet, everyone's quiet. You know, just everything was like that. Sporting event, everyone's being loud, oh. And when I moved to this improv dance retreat center, it was before I moved there, it was my first big event there. The first night there, I was shy. I wasn't really experienced at dance compared to anyone. But I'd been learning how to play poker. And I just decided, what the hell, I'm gonna bring myself here, even though it's ridiculous. I said, who wants to play poker? And these are people who had come from hours away for their vacation to do improv dance. And 5 people said yes. And I said, we need poker chips. So we went into the kitchen, you know, a hippie kitchen, and suddenly we're sitting in the dance floor in a circle on the floor, playing poker with kidney beans and black beans. And we played for 45 minutes, and then I had, you know, friends, and we had an amazing time together for 5 days. And it's just a nice reminder, you can bring yourself, even if it's a little weird. And what I love about this community is it's especially true. Some communities you might find that, but I love that about this community. Don't just try to fit in, add to what's going on. And I'm a big believer in both and, like when there's 2 perspectives, do your best to find the truth in both. So if we're talking about like tradition versus change, I like both. If we just say yes to everyone who walks through the door, we're gonna be a youth hostel, or you know, we could really go off it could be really changed really quick. I want us to stay rooted in what we've been rooted in. So it's kind of an intelligent yes and. It's saying yes to that 30% or 80% that we can say yes to. And getting that yes and in the toolkit so that it's fully available. But it's still okay to say, oh, I like things the way they are. You know, we can have both. But today, we are saying yes. We are saying yes and to 4 people. And 4 of us are saying yes and to this congregation. So Laura Bain, Caitlin Drury, Gina Rahman, and Jeff Richardson, you are becoming members today. Would you please come up, those of you in person, and Gina is online. So Laura, Jeff, and Caitlin, would you please come up? How about come up here? My back is actually doing much better than when I woke up, which is great. Get that ready for later. I asked each of you to speak for a few minutes on any or all of the following questions. What is your spiritual journey? Why are you becoming a member of UUCH? What are you bringing with you? For example, what are your interests, your insights, your talents, your humanity? So you're welcome to speak. You all said yes, all 4 of you said yes, you'd be glad to talk. And so you're welcome to speak on one or more of those questions or whatever feels important for you to say today. So let's hear from each of you now, starting with Laura.
Sure, thanks. Okay, so I didn't grow up UU, obviously, I'm joining. And I didn't actually even know anyone who was UU before I came here for the first time last summer. I was looking for community at that time, but I was also at a point where I didn't want to have to hide aspects of myself in order to fit in. Wow, synchronicity. I wanted to find somewhere where I could be completely authentically myself and find acceptance and also offer acceptance to others. Spirituality has always been a big part of my life, so it made sense for me to seek community there. But my beliefs have also never fit neatly into any particular box, and I feel like my beliefs also are always evolving as I change, which isn't welcome in every spiritual community. I actually almost became a Baha'i last summer. I was doing some research into progressive spiritual communities in Halifax, and I liked some of what they believe, but no shade on the Baha'is. I do like a lot of their beliefs, but I discovered that they're non-affirming to 2S LGBTQIA+, and that was a very strong deal breaker for me, a big part of why I'm not in sync with the church that I was raised in. And I thought, hey, what are these UUs all about? I had just sort of this vague sense that it was a progressive spiritual community, and I'd seen you folks walking in the Pride Parade. And I was able to watch a few old services on YouTube, which was really helpful. I knew what I was getting into. And I really appreciate that on my first Sunday showing up here, people noticed that I was blind, people noticed my cane, but nobody tried to pray for my healing. That's an experience I've had in other spiritual communities, so I really appreciate that. I felt just kind of like nobody made that big a deal out of it. And it feels like the relationships that I've been building since then with this community feel gradual and sustainable. I really like that we're all like-minded free thinkers. Lastly, I just want to touch on what I bring very quickly. I think hopefully many things, but I bring a desire to contribute to and grow this community. For the last decade or more, I've been working particularly in the area of disability and accessibility, so I hope that I can contribute that lens and help make this community even more inclusive than it already is. So thank you for having me.
Jeff, do you mind getting the crutch out of the way?
Sure.
And then go ahead yourself.
Okay. It'd be terrible if somebody tripped on it and hurt themselves. Good morning, everyone. First of all, I want to thank Ben and the congregation for inviting me to become a member of the congregation. I'm deeply honored. I wasn't sure exactly what to expect this morning. I wanted to respond to Ben's invitation, so I'm doing that, but it's also incorporating some of the reflections I've had as a participant in the Building Your Own Theology course, so it's a little all over the place. When Ben asked if I would share my spiritual journey or journey of understanding with you this morning, this image immediately came to mind. Not that one. This one. I don't know if you can you enlarge that a little bit? But two images. The top one says, just sort of a straight progression, other people's spiritual journey, and then my spiritual journey. So it's just a little contrast. Although my journey had always seemed chaotic and haphazard, after further reflection, I realized that it has its own unique coherence and progression and closely tracks my involvement with social justice pursuits. Growing up in Ottawa, I was raised in the United Church and attended Sunday school for many years. Apart from a strict observance of the Sabbath, which most traumatically meant no road hockey, it was a benign and straightforward religious upbringing. It bore little resemblance to the severity of my strict Methodist great-grandparents. Several forces shaped my development, spiritual development, when I moved to London, Ontario, after university to attend Teachers College. The first was an awareness campaign launched back in the 1980s by a coalition of Christian churches. It was known as 10 Days for World Development. The campaign encouraged Canadians to recognize the various ways that unjust financial, trade, and military structures directly contributed to poverty, malnutrition, and wretchedness in what was then referred to as the Third World. This was a stunning revelation to me. Another significant development at that time was becoming a member of Amnesty International. I played leadership roles as a volunteer with Amnesty, both at the local and national levels for many years, and later had the privilege of working on staff in Ottawa for 8 years. As outraged as I was by the unrelenting stream of extrajudicial executions, torture, disappearances, I derived enormous satisfaction from being part of and contributing to an ever-expanding and ever more powerful global community of human rights activists. I had my first exposure to Unitarianism while living in London. I attended my first service to hear a guest speaker talk about Canada's complicity with the South African apartheid regime. I returned again later to listen to another guest speaker, and at that point asked myself, who were these people that hosted such stimulating conversations and were so keen to promote social justice? As it turned out, I only attended a few more services before I finished my graduate work and left to travel around South Asia for 6 months. But the seeds had been planted. My next spiritual moment occurred when I met and established a relationship with my late partner, Claudia Mann. Claudia was on a spiritual journey, perhaps more like that upper limit. She knew where she was going. It's much more deliberate. In addition to her extensive work supporting assaulted women and their children, and a profound commitment to social justice, she was actively pursuing mindfulness and deeply inspired by the teachings of the Dalai Lama, Reverend Desmond Tutu, and Maya Angelou, to name just 3. Although we discussed the possibility of joining a community in Halifax after we moved here from Labrador, the demands of work, caring for my mother, and COVID-19 conspired against us. Nonetheless, after considerable thought, we decided that we would attend a UUCH service and check things out. A few years ago, however, Claudia was diagnosed with cancer. Although too weak and exhausted by a series of brutal treatment regimes to attend UUCH services in person, she joined as often as she could on Sunday mornings by Zoom and longed for the day that we could attend together in person. Tragically, she died before this could happen. Joe Brito kindly read a memorial tribute to Claudia on my behalf last summer, and her celebration of life was held in this sanctuary in September. I've been attending services more or less regularly since then, have become increasingly involved in the community, and am pleased to have been invited to formally join the congregation this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Go online now? Yeah. Gina? Gina, go ahead.
Hi, can you hear me? I live in Stratford, PEI. I just turned 60 on Saturday. I'm from India and haven't been a part of a community since I was growing up in the Indo-Canadian community here. I was brought up as an atheist, but my extended family is Muslim. I never heard of Unitarianism until I read a biography of Ralph Waldo Emerson. I admire Emerson and Thoreau as social critics, naturalists, writers, poets, and abolitionists who influenced Lincoln and the Emancipation Proclamation. Their words and ideas and spirituality inspired my creative writing. I read that Emerson and Thoreau read Hindu philosophy and listened to sacred Hindu songs as I do. I never thought of joining a faith group until I watched a documentary on community groups. A social scientist recommended joining a life-enhancing group. He had been studying this since the 60s. I found the George Washington Masonic the George Washington Masons last year to ask about joining the Order of the Eastern Star. Someone in my family has to be a Freemason, however. I found the Canadian contact and he suggested my husband become a Freemason so that I could become a member of the Order of the Eastern Star. We were going to have a meeting, but changed our minds when we realized the time commitment. Some new family responsibilities arose, so we couldn't join. I'd always listened to the philosopher Krishnamurti who said, be a light to yourself. When I read the principles of the Universalist Unitarian Church of Halifax, I realized they resonated with me. I started questioning parts of the theory of evolution, though I still believe in the general theory that we evolved. I do not believe the theory of random mutations has any validity in explaining the complexity of life. Random mutations don't explain instinct, emotions, intelligence, or love, or the physical complexity known as sacred geometry. I realized I believed in a supreme creative intelligence. I think the principles of the Universalist Unitarian Church community are a way of being in the world that shows reverence. I bring with me an enthusiasm for community, a compassion for people, a reverence for nature, and a reverence for life. I hope this is a new beginning. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gina. Caitlin.
Take this off because I don't project well anyways. So, bring it off. My story starts with my parents, my mom, I'm from Japan. My mom is from Japan. My dad was in the military, and he was in it for over 20 years, of the U.S. military. And they met in Japan. I lived there 2 years, and then, lucky enough, after we moved, not here, to the U.S., I keep doing that, like I'm still back in the States. When we moved to the States, my mom brought us to our Japanese family most summers. Really lucky. My younger brother, who was born in the States, of course she brought him too, so we got to know them. The point of all that is, most Japanese grow up culturally Buddhist and Shinto. Two different religions, that's a whole other conversation. My father grew up Presbyterian, so they decided we're not going to make our kids anything. We'll expose them to a bunch of stuff. Presbyterian church, congregational, Buddhism, Shintoism, what else? Oh, and we lived in Wilmette, so that meant we were near Evanston, and my mom remembers us going to the Unitarian Universalist Church at least once, so I know I've been there. And so that's really important. Because then my younger brother, my dad was married before, so we have two older siblings, explored everything, and he darn near became Jewish, which, hey, that would have been fine. Wow, he's like, well, if you're going to go with the Bible, he said, that's the one. I mean, that's like the closest, right? He did not. And I wound up an agnostic Buddhist, which is really interesting. But there's more of us than you might think. And it's in the tradition of Plum Village and Thich Nhat Hanh. And if I had found a community of that here, Plum Village group, I probably wouldn't be here, but I didn't, because the one I did find was just shortly after we moved here, shortly after December 21, so in 22, but he wanted it to be only in person, and that terrified me, because it's still COVID, right? I'm like, oh my God, no way, I can't do this. But it didn't come to fruition. And so that made me look for stuff. And I know Dan and Paul. And they're going every place. And they've exposed me to like a Quaker meeting, which I love. I'd love to go. That hour of sitting, totally familiar. That's what I do every day. Not an hour, but sitting. Wow, really, really familiar. Plus, I think I like their idea of what a penitentiary should be. And it certainly has not been realized in the United States. I don't know about here, but certainly not in the States. But I know that when I was younger, I explored the Universalist Unitarian Church. I'm sure I walked by the one in Hyde Park near University of Chicago however many times, not because I went there, I had friends there. It's probably, as I recall, it's beautiful, and I only saw the outside. I went to the one in Oak Park, Illinois, Frank Lloyd Wright building, beautiful. I went to the one in Hinsdale, more traditional church building, but still beautiful. But it just never seemed like the time to do it, and it finally did here. And part of how I got exposed to the building itself was we had an elderberries, senior Two-Spirit LGBT group. We had one of our Pride events here last summer. I kind of checked it out. Not every nook and cranny like you said I could, but still. And then I started going to services. So it's been really cool. And what do I have to bring? And I love this, we are one. That is very Buddhist. We're all deeply connected. I totally believe that. And it's beautiful. And what I have to bring here, this is really concrete. I like to cook and bake and do kitchen stuff. So if the kitchen person ever needs any help, please let me know.
So good to know you more deeply and to be saying yes. You are saying yes to UUCH, and UUCH is saying yes to you. So, if you welcome Laura, Caitlin, Gina, and Jeff into membership, weaving their stories into the ongoing adventure of this congregation, bringing their perspectives, their voices, their humanity. If you are saying an open-hearted, open-minded yes, let me hear you say yes. Yes. Awesome. And if you're going to bring yourself to your encounters with these new members, continuing to enrich the soil of the congregation in an ongoing way, let me hear you say yes and. Yes and. Awesome. Laura, Caitlin, Gina, and Jeff, you are joining a congregation that cares deeply about love, justice, interdependence, freedom, and more. We are deeply rooted in what matters most. We have a rich history, always a living tradition, making room for both continuity and new ways. If you are saying yes to this congregation, let me hear you say yes.
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 And if you, awesome. And if you are going to change this congregation and be changed by this congregation, let me hear you say yes and.
Yes.
Yes, and.
Awesome. The next step is for you each to sign the membership book. And Gina, Pam Berman will write your name in the book. We are so glad to have you joining from PEI. Today is May 4th.
Of course it is. Dave, my husband has a friend who was born on this day, so.
And I will write my name in this column, so that's good. I'll do it there. Caitlin. So throw in the date and sign your name. No, this is great. Just sign your name right there. Yeah. And I'll add the date. Thank you. Throw the date right there. Do you mind adding the date so I'm impressive? Your name, your signature.
Just to write it or is it sign?
Should be signature, but it's fine. I will write you so much. Can I get one more from everyone? One more final yes and.
Yes and.
All right. You are welcome to go back to your seats. And everyone, please rise in body or spirit for a closing hymn, number 1028 in the Teal hymnal, Fire of Commitment. Number 1028, and the words are going up on the screen. From the light of days remember, there's a weekend bright and clear, guiding hands and hearts and spirits to faith set free from fear. When the fire of commitment sets our heart and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion need to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment, and our future can begin. The stories of our living brings a song of great and few, drawing pilgrims still to witness to the life of liberty. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion need to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment, and our future can begin. From the dreams of youthful vision comes a new prophetic voice, which demands a deeper justice built by our courageous choice. When the fire of commitment sets our mind and soul ablaze, when our hunger and our passion need to call us on our way, when we live with deep assurance of the flame that burns within, then our promise finds fulfillment, and our future can begin. Please be seated. Thank you so much. It is time now to extinguish our chalice. May we carry with us the warmth of compassion, the glow of love, the fire of commitment, and the light of truth.
Ben, can I add a note before everybody leaves?
Yes.
We have our soup lunch and AGM coming up on May 25th, and I'm looking for soup makers and dessert makers. So if anybody would like to contribute a pot of soup or a tray of squares or cookies or muffins or whatever, greatly appreciate it. Thank you.
Do you need people to let you know?
Hmm?
Do you need people to let you know?
Yes. Okay, piccolo. We're letting you know now.
And building your own theology starts here. It's scheduled to start at noon, but because the service went late, let's start at 7 minutes after noon. So we'll start here at 7 minutes after. And today's theme is human nature. All are welcome. Those on Zoom, stick around for conversation, and there is coffee available now in the ballroom. Our service is over.